Real quick before we get into the video today, I would just like to say rest in peace to King Von, rapper gone way too soon. He was indeed a black king. Just very unfortunate, his passing, very untimely as well, and just prayers go out to his family and fans of his. So I'm just going to have a quick moment of silence for him as well. So. Hello everybody, welcome back to the Music Gauntlet channel. I hope you all are having a wonderful day so far despite all the madness this election is causing. And today I'm going to be giving you my second episode in the Gauntlet Roundup series where I'm going to be going over a bunch of albums that I was not able to give a thorough review for. These past few weeks have been nuts. I mean, I wanted to get around to reviewing a lot more albums than I did. I think I only, since my last roundup, I only reviewed 3 albums, which is pretty bad. Oh, no, my bad. One of those was an EP, so it was only 2 albums. Great. That's awesome. It's been craziness with the election. As I mentioned, there was also a COVID scare in my family. There's just been a lot of stuff going on. I wish I could get around to reviewing more albums, but I know it just sounds like excuses. That being said, there are a lot of albums I'm going to talk about today, so I am going to spare no more moments and get right into this roundup. First, I want to acknowledge the deluxe version of Karma 3 by Dave East. Shout out to my dude in the comment section that always keeps me updated on Dave East releases, because Lord knows I cannot keep up with Dave East and his rapid release output. So thank you, my dude in the comment section, who's making me aware that there was even a Karma 3 Deluxe. And quite frankly, I'm glad these are on the deluxe version and weren't on the normal version when I reviewed it, because these are probably his weakest songs and my least favorite songs of his, at the very least on this project. I mean, don't get me wrong, there are some highlights here, looking at One in the Sky, Benefits, My Trap with G Herbo. Great to hear those artists work together, they mesh really well, but even then come off as lesser tracks when compared to other highlights on the actual album like Broke or Not or Believe It or Not. Definitely giving me the vibe of B-sides, and that is not even acknowledging the songs that I just straight up did not really care for whatsoever. Looking at Solid with Deja Loaf, he was trying to sing on that song, which I'm sorry did not work for me whatsoever. Badness with Junior Reid is how bad the song with Papa Can earlier in the album could have sounded like, but he's decided to do it again and made it worse this time. He's got a really nice verse in the back end of the song, but it does not make up for how lackluster of a track it is in general. And you would think Jeezy would have brought way more energy to the track that he was featured on the Handsome remix, and I did not get that vibe at all. I felt like he was very much just sleepwalking through his verse, just kind of giving some decent bars, but it wasn't stand out at all. So if you're a fan of Dave East, if you're a fan of Dave East, you're really gonna enjoy these songs. It's just, you know, I heard him rap over better songs before. Now moving on to our actual tiers, starting with the good. Kicking things off with the Gorillaz and their album Song Machine Season 1 Strange Times. I was trying, man. I was trying so hard. Even this past week, I was gonna put out a review for this album because I love it so much, but I just could not. Ugh, time was not working in my favor. David Albarn, aka 2D, you are a musical madman, sir. Who in their right mind is thinking, yeah, I'm gonna make a song with Black and Elton John and make it one of the most gorgeous things to ever come out of 2020? He's fallen victim into working with too many artists and making it a bit of a cluttered mess on albums like Humans. Actually, more so just Humans. And I don't know what the difference was here. Maybe it was because he focused on individual songs rather than the album as a whole and trying to figure out a way to have these artists all come together. But whatever it was, these songs, this album in general just has such strong highlights. My God, Pac-Man with Schoolboy Q? Oh my God, Schoolboy destroys that song. The worst thing I can say about this project is that there are such strong highlights that other songs become lesser songs in the track listing, but that's kind of a nitpick for an album that I've come back to at least 4 to 5 times at this point. The production is so diverse yet somehow meshes perfectly well together. It feels like a season of a show, which obviously was intended by the title, but I love the delivery and how well they were able to execute the concept. I could go on and on about this record, but I'm gonna have to cut myself off. Some of the performances on this thing are just jaw-dropping. Compare this to like a DJ Khaled album where the sole point of that is just to have hit songs where here it comes together to be a beautiful piece of art. Yeah, it really makes you appreciate it. Moving on to our next album in the good category, we have Clipping with their album Visions of Bodies Being Burned. Another instance where I was planning to do some kind of Halloween themed video around this album or just their discography in general, but you know, ran out of time. Man, shout out to Daveed Diggs and his flow and cadence all over this album, and even their discography in general. This is the first time I've mentioned them on my channel, so man, the dude is just a fucking machine. That is not to discredit William Hudson and Jonathan Snipes either, the producers for the group. There is such strong attention to detail on this thing, it is insane. I was watching the interview they did with Anthony Fantano just a little bit ago, talking about how they just got the perfect timing right of the cars driving by and everything. They absolutely nailed it with this project. It feels like a cinematic horror experience. I love how they don't overthink the concept, making it a lot like the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark movie, having just each song be its own horror movie, or episode in a full movie if you will, with Daveed Diggs painting these perfect pictures for you of horror scenarios and the producers just absolutely murdering some of these songs. Get it? Sometimes it can be a little confusing what the concept of each song is about, and took some going to genius to figure that out, but I love that. It's like learning the lore behind the horror story you're trying to decipher. Extremely creepy, executes its concept perfectly, and an album that doesn't need to be listened to in October to enjoy it fully. Last thing I'll say is I love the fact that they are bringing back horrorcore hip-hop. That was kind of a dying subgenre, but they are bringing it back so hard. Such a strong output from them. And all I can say is I just can't wait for the next release, but man, they've been on a roll. The next album and last album I'm going to be putting into my good tier here, we are going to be talking about Black Thought's recent album, Streams of Thought, Volume 3, Cain and Abel. Oh, it's a Black Thought album, huh? I better bust out the dictionary. I just love to hear it, man. I love to hear him doing his own stuff outside of the roots. I know he has a lot of solo material under his belt, but still, this has so much replay value on bars alone. I've seen a lot of people saying that he is one of the top 10, if not top 5 rappers of all time, but underrated because a lot of people don't think to put him there because he doesn't have the notoriety in the sense of being a rapper that a lot of people think about when they're making those kinds of lists. But a positive to that is being labeled your favorite rapper's favorite rapper actually has brought him a lot more attention and discussion in that conversation. And this project does more than enough to prove that. He's very much aware that he can slaughter a microphone. That is just blatantly obvious. But yet he still chooses to focus in on individual topics when there's something he wants to talk about, and doesn't make his verses needlessly complex. Oftentimes you can listen to a lot of these songs and understand what he's saying, though being a little tricky with his vocabulary. Which means he could focus in and give us a nice cohesive song like State Prisoner, or he could just pop the fuck off with his best buds on Good Morning. Like, god damn it, Pusha T. Oh, I can't even say Pusha T killed it like completely either, because like Killer Mike murdered that shit too, man. God damn it, that was a hard song. It's also dope to see more artists and more rappers working with Portugal the Man. The last time I heard it was on the Flatbush Zombies record with Crown, and that was a gorgeous song. Love that track. So I'm glad to see they're getting some recognition that they can weld together really nice and make some nice sounding hip hop tracks with a bit of a rock twist. There are some moments where he's resorting back to cliche topics we've heard about, like marital disputes, but even then it is a pretty solid ride all throughout, and he makes it really nice and short and sweet. I'm really rocking with this project. I mean, I go back to individual songs more than I do with the project as a whole, but even then, it's like every song, not just limited to a few. Let's keep it pushing and move on to our decent tier. Kicking off the decent tier, we are going to talk about T.I. and his album, The Libra, and I can keep this one pretty short and simple because there's not much to say about it. I mean, T.I. is a good rapper, capable rapper, but he's sounding like he's trying to be a Lil Baby or something along those lines way too hard. He's paying homage to the other artists that came out of the city that he came from, and I get that, I respect it, but at the same time, this album is so one note and kind of forgettable. It's way too long as well. He gets into some good social commentary on the back end with tracks like How I Feel with Eric Bellinger and Killer Mike, but even then, it's such a slog to get to that point. There are some quality tracks on here. I would say everybody that showed up performed well. Even T.I. performs well across this thing. It's just, like I said, very one note. He's trying way too hard to not stand out and kind of blend in with the other Atlanta artists, which is fine, but you gotta understand an hour and 8 minutes of that is kind of a no-go. Very much an album where I would say pick out your favorite songs and save them to a playlist. You don't have to trudge through the whole thing. And as far as this ranking in his discography, it would be fairly low considering, as you could probably tell, it's not one of my favorites by him. Moving on from there, we are going to be talking about the latest release from Busta Rhymes called Extinction Level Event 2,
The Wrath of God.
My boy. An hour and 17 minutes, Busta Rhymes. Seriously? An hour and 17 minutes? That's not even the deluxe version you dropped. Who has time to do that? I barely had time to listen to all of this. How does anybody go back to this album in full? So, I mean, yeah, that is the biggest thing weighing this project down. There are some strong highlights on here. I mean, loved the purging sound effects on the actual track, The Purge. You little bastard. He kills tracks like Slow Flow and Oh No, making for some of my favorite tracks on here, and good God, Kendrick Lamar snaps on the song he's on. I'm about to start a riot at the TDE headquarters if we don't get that album soon. And somewhere in this cluttered, bulging, huge, massive album, there is a nice, compact, beautiful album, but like, yeah, there's way too many freaking songs in this thing. It's really refreshing hearing Busta Rhymes tear it up over beats again. He doesn't sound washed by any means. He sounds really comfortable and, if anything, rejuvenized. I appreciate him giving fans of his work that much material after being gone for so long, and I know it's his whole album MO to release that much material on a single project, but I think it's pretty safe to say I am probably never going to listen to this album in full again because it is just such a long album, and I'd rather just listen to other projects and pick out my favorite ones from this one and move on. Speaking of moving on, let's get to our next album in the decent category, and that is going to be Ty Dolla $ign with his album featuring Ty Dolla $ign. The man who can murder other people's songs when it comes to him being a featured artist, but when it comes to his his own project seems to just not care as much. Man is an anomaly. I mean, I heard Ego Death and I was like, oh, okay, that was pretty interesting the way you had Skrillex and FKA Twigs and Kanye all come together on one track. But then we started getting singles like Spicy and Expensive, and I knew exactly where this was going. So much talent. I mean, he even says it on like the opening track or some kind of skit, I don't know what skit it was, where he's talking about having all these talents, being able to sing, being able to rap. But yet he can't help himself but to make generic bangers. Not that he makes bad bangers, but they're just generic, especially compiled into one album. I appreciate the attention to detail, how these tracks all seamlessly flow together. I did really like the sequencing on this thing, and the way he pulls these artists together, none of it felt forced. It all felt like pretty good, well thought out collaborations. Nobody felt too awkward or uncomfortable. But I'm pretty tired of hearing Ty Dolla $ign sing and rap about sex. I really am. I don't really have a desire to hear how wet he can make a girl anymore. And not that I even did in the first place. Not that those tracks were designed to be listened by people like me anyways, but at the end of the day, this album is just like, it's made to have songs you play at parties. You could probably even get away with just playing this album in full at a party and be fine. And that's pretty much all I gotta say about it. Just yet another so-so Ty Dolla $ign album. He could have called this like Beach House 4 and it would have been fine. It sounds exactly like it fits with those projects. Moving on from there, we are going to be talking about the artist Snot and his album, Beautiful Havoc. I'm pretty sure I found out about this dude the same time everybody else did, which wasn't the Lyrical Lemonade video he did not too long ago, but it was earlier this year with his single, Gosha, and getting that Drake Bell cosign, baby.
It's Drake Bell here. Just wanted you guys to go check out Tragedy by Snot. My favorite song on there is Pressure. Well, a couple songs. Pressure and Fall in Love. Go check them out.
I listened to the album Tragedy when it dropped earlier this year. I love the track Roadrunner on there. And it's cool to see him reaping what he's sowed, because for what I understand, he's been releasing music for quite some time now. And yeah, if you like Tragedy, you're gonna like this one too. The only reason this is in my decent tier is because by the end of it, I just felt like there was something more I wanted out of him. Like, he has some potential that he's not tapping into quite all the way. I'm getting more of the vibe this project was capitalizing off the Lyrical Lemonade video and getting his name more out there as opposed to crafting a truly standout project. And frankly, there's no shame in that at all, because I can admit by the end of this project, I was left wanting more. I would describe Snot's music as goth rap inspired by the late XXXTentacion, bleeding together some harmonies and melodies with some harder rap bangers. And on cadence alone, this dude knows how to carry a project. He sounds so sinister and nasty on a mic. I noticed that on Gosha because he didn't have the most detailed or hard bars on Gosha. It was very much a so-so song lyrically, but his delivery is what really sold it for me. Oh, and now that I'm thinking about it, it's a lot of Suicide Boys inspired too, with their kind of singing and harmonizing as well. Where in both cases, these rappers aren't the most lyrically gifted under the sun, but it's just how they go about their music and the approach and the way they have it sound overall, which really draws you in. He doesn't have to have the best vocals either to sell a song like Revenge, where he is singing and harmonizing a little bit, but it still sounds really catchy. It's very easy as a rapper to take a misstep and think you can sing, and it actually sounds really horrible, but I think he knows exactly what he's doing and makes it blend really well on this project. This man's bangers go so hard. I mean, the track Sangria with Denzel Curry, I have not stopped listening to that song since I've heard it. That one bar Denzel has when he says she'll call me Hum, but she won't call me Attila. God damn. Yeah, like I said, I really enjoy this project, but when I'm listening to it, I just hear an artist that has not tapped into his full potential yet. That being said, I got my eyes on Snot, and I'm excited to see what he comes out with in the future. And moving on to the final album in our decent category, we are going to be talking about the project, The Amanda Tape by They. Yes, their name is They, period. No, not like period, end of the sentence. Just that they're, I'll post it there. I've been following these dudes for a minute now. They actually had one of my favorite projects in 2017 with New Religion Hyena. If I had to describe the music, I would say it's like folk rap, folk R&B. The approach to their music is very interesting. Whether I really enjoy a project or not, the music is always somewhat interesting to hear how they're blending these different genres together. Because they're always going to have these organic instrumentals that they themselves are playing, so that's what's always interesting to me. That being said though, everything I've heard after the Hyena album has just not impressed me all that much. Their Fireside EP was alright to me, but that was mostly having to do with the featured artist rather than they themselves. And now we're here where this album does sound really refined and I do enjoy some of these songs a lot, but there's also moments that come off really weak and that I don't care for whatsoever. I gotta go in a little side rant here. They have a track on here with Juicy J called STCU, which stands for Shoot the Club Up. So we're already off to a bad start with a name like that, but you know, it could be a concept, it could be an idea, or it could mean something else, which in this case, it does. However, what they mean by shoot the club up is, you know, when you're inside a girl and you need to relieve yourself at the current moment because you're having a really good time. And I'm just picturing the dude, the guy who's trying to hit on a girl and was like, yeah,
I'm gonna cook you a nice meal. You're gonna sip in that nice rosé, and then I'm gonna take you to bed, and I'm gonna shoot your club up, girl. Like, what?
Who, Yeah, so that didn't help my album experience, and like I said, there are other songs on here that I just don't really care for all that much. Not a bad project, and I'll be looking out for what they release in the future because I do really like their style of music. However, this just wasn't that great of a project to me. And finally, we can move on to our final tier, the not so good category. Okay, this is how we're gonna do this because both of these projects that are in this not so good category have pretty much the same issue. Bring them out, Trippie Red, Pegasus, Nav, Emergency Tsunami. Boys, please just stop. Please just stop. Nobody's trying to hear this much music from you, and I get in Nav's case, it's a very short and concise project where he's working with one producer. I get that. But he also released 2 full-blown albums earlier this year. That was a double album, technically. There are inklings of good songs across these projects, but it's like they're malnourishing their own careers. I mean, yeah, they're probably eaten from these projects, but like, how do you not understand that people do not want to hear this much music from you? Do you know why rappers like Uzi and 21 and Cardi all get mega sales and mega fucking attention whenever they release an album? It's because they let the anticipation build. People have such hard blue balls for the Cardi album right now. And Die Lit didn't even come out that long ago. At least Nav broke his apart a little bit. Trippie, what the were you thinking, man? Who is trying to sit through this much of your music? I guess he got a decent amount of sales from it, but like, can you imagine if he just waited, like, just one project a year, half the length, how much people would eat that shit up? Like, he doesn't have the mindset to realize that he's becoming a washed out artist because he is saturating the market with his music. That goes for Nav too. I think the last album I listened to in full by him was A Love Letter to You 4, and even then I was like, god damn it, how much music can he pack into one album? That's crazy to me, because I'm sure these people, I'm sure they're only making money because they have diehard fans, not because people actually want to listen to the music. Like, if you were just a casual music listener and you stumble across Pegasus and it's that long of a fucking album, you're gonna tell me you're gonna listen to that? Hell no. You're picking out some of the songs that look interesting, listening to them, gonna hear it's trash, and move on. That goes for you too, Nav. Like, why couldn't you look at your double album, pick out the best tracks even though there were barely any, put it on one project, and then come out with the Tsunami thing now? Then it'd be fine, because this Tsunami is a shorter project, and if you just released like a more concise concise album earlier this year, that makes sense. That's understandable. You know, it's not too much saturation. But no, we gotta have these double albums. I gotta maximize my sales, but in doing that, make myself seem fucking dry and bland as shit. Woo! Ugh. I'm getting heated. Hold on. Can that be an ad-lib? Woo! Length aside, these albums just aren't that great in general. It's sad to see these artists, especially Trippie, has made better albums before. I don't understand why he's just pushing as much BS out there as he can. Oh, okay, I think that is going to do it for this episode of the Gauntlet Roundup. Thank you guys so much for watching all the way into the end. If you made it all the way into the end, you know I truly appreciate that. Of course, these are just my opinions on these albums, so let me know what you guys think as well. Did you like some of these albums more than me? Did you think they should have been in the lower categories? Just let me know in the comment section below. I love to talk about it. If you want to follow me on Instagram and Twitter, we could also talk about it there. Leave a like or subscribe. I would appreciate that too. And that's all I got for you guys. I'll see you in the next one.
My first tattoo ever was a dick in the middle of my head.